What does silence sound like in the middle of a war? Not the absence of gunfire, not the pause between artillery strikes when the world holds its breath and waits for the next shell to scream overhead. The truest silence comes when an engine dies, when 6 cylinders of Detroit iron stop turning, and you know, 3 miles away through snow and darkness, your brothers are freezing to death, and there is nothing, no orders, no equipment, no miracle from headquarters that can reach them in time. That silence is quieter than death itself, because it means you failed before you even started. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. 1830 hours, December 16th, 1944. Temperature, 15 degrees below zero, Fahrenheit. The wind did not blow across Forward Supply Depot Baker. It attacked. Each gust came down from the German-held ridgeline like a living predator, hunting for exposed skin, searching for gaps in wool coats, testing every seam and tear in canvas tents. 2 feet of snow had fallen in the past 12 hours. More was coming. The sky was the color of old iron. In the motor pool, rows of GMC 6x6 trucks sat buried to their axles. Ice coated their bumpers. Snow drifted against their wheels. They looked like monuments to American industry, defeated by European winter. A figure moved through the drifts, heavy footsteps, deliberate. Master Sergeant Thaddeus Sullivan, they called him Grease, and the name fit, made his rounds. 52 years old. Too old to be here by every regulation in the book, but the army needed men who could tell a blown head gasket from a cracked block in the dark, and Grease had been fixing engines since before half these boys were born. His hands were permanently stained black. 30 years of oil and grease and carbon. No soap could touch it anymore. The stains went bone deep. He stopped beside a frozen deuce and a half, pulled a dented flask from inside his coat, and took a drink. Coffee, gone cold hours ago, tasted like battery acid brewed in burnt rubber. Behind him, the command tent glowed like a failing lantern. Inside, a radio hissed static. Then Grease heard it. A sound that didn't belong. Metal striking metal. The sharp ring of frustration. A young man losing a fight with machinery. Grease turned toward the noise. 1900 hours. Tucked behind a stack of fuel drums, a jeep sat with its hood gaping open like a mouth frozen mid-scream. Bent over the engine compartment was Private Merle Whitlock. 19 years old, fresh from Belleville, Kansas. A face that looked like it belonged in a high school yearbook, not a war zone. Farm boy, welder, the kind of kid who learned to fix tractors, because if the John Deere didn't run, the family didn't eat. He was working a spark plug with bare hands, no gloves, couldn't feel the threads through wool, but bare skin on steel in sub-zero cold was like touching fire. It burned exactly the same. The wrench slipped. Merle yelped. The tool fell into the dark guts of the engine block with a clatter that seemed to echo across the entire motor pool. He slammed his fist against the fender. Once. Twice. His shoulders heaved, not from cold, from the pressure building inside his chest, the weight of failure compounding like interest on a loan he couldn't pay. At ease, son. Merle spun around. Grease stood there, holding the dropped wrench. Ice crystals clung to the steel. The sergeant's eyes dropped to Merle's hands. Raw. Red. Knuckles split open in places that wouldn't bleed because the cold had squeezed the veins shut. Trying to get her running, Sergeant. Merle's teeth chattered so hard the words came out broken. Captain needs the radio jeep operational by 0600. But the oil's frozen solid. Can't turn the engine over. I can't feel my fingers. Grease didn't speak. He pulled off his gloves, heavy leather, lined with rabbit fur. They were warm. They held heat like a coal holds fire. He pressed them into Merle's chest. Put them on. Sergeant, I can't take... That's an order, Private Whitlock. You can't fix a damn thing with frostbitten fingers, and we need people who can fix things. Merle hesitated, then slowly slid his hands into the gloves. The warmth hit him like a drug. Relief washed across his face. He looked up at Grease, confused. Kindness was not a common currency in this place. Grease pulled out a cigarette, cupped his hands around his Zippo. The flame illuminated the deep lines carved into his face by sun and time, and things he never talked about from the last war. "Listen close, son. Out here, your rank won't keep you warm. Your uniform won't save you. Only brotherhood does that." Then the radio inside the command tent started screaming. Not the usual crackle and pop. A human voice, raw, desperate, breaking through static like a drowning man breaking through waves. Any station, this is Convoy 7 Delta. We are immobilized. Repeat, immobilized at Ridge Route Charlie, 3 miles north of depot. 18 wounded personnel. Hypothermia setting in. Ambulances stuck in drift. Cannot proceed. Cannot retreat. Temperature dropping. We are losing men. Request immediate extraction. Immediate extraction. Over. The transmission cut out. Static flooded back in like water into a sinking ship. Grease and Merle stood frozen. The distance between sergeant and private collapsed. They were just 2 men, listening to 18 others begin to die. Grease dropped his cigarette into the snow where it died with a hiss. "Warm up inside, then get to the command tent." He was already moving before Merle could respond. 19-15 hours. The air inside the command tent was thick as soup, wet wool, stale tobacco smoke, burning oil from a pot-bellied stove that fought a war it was losing against Belgian winter. Men sat on ammunition crates and oil drums, staring at nothing. The radio operator's finger still pressed the transmit button, like he was afraid to let go. Captain Robert Mitchell stood over the map table, 35 years old, good officer, the kind who remembered his men's names. But right now he looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. He ran both hands through his hair. "Options. I need options." Silence answered him. A corporal near the stove shook his head. "Shovels won't touch it, sir. That's 4 feet of compacted snow, maybe more with the drifts." "What about the bulldozers from engineering?" 20 miles south, probably frozen in place themselves." Mitchell's fist came down on the table. Pencils jumped. Maps shifted. "Then what? We have 18 men dying up there. 18. And we're just going to sit here?" Nobody answered. The army had run out of solutions. But in the back corner of the tent, near a pile of scrap metal salvaged from a Bond railway bridge, Private Merle Whitlock wasn't looking at the map. His eyes were closed. The smell of diesel and wet canvas faded. He was back home. Kansas, summer of 1938. Standing at the edge of his father's wheat field during the blizzard that buried the county roads. Cattle trapped in the lower pasture, starving. The feed truck couldn't get through. His father didn't wait for the county to clear the roads. Earl Whitlock walked to the barn, fired up the cutting torch, cut a sheet of tin roofing into a crude wedge, bolted it to the front of the John Deere. It wasn't pretty, but it moved snow. It saved the herd. Merle opened his eyes. Fear still churned in his stomach. But alongside it, something else had taken root. Something stubborn. Something Kansas. He looked at the GMC truck parked in the repair bay. To everyone else, it was just a cargo hauler. Useless without roads. To Merle, it was a tractor that hadn't met its plow yet. His voice came out small at first. "Sir." Nobody heard. He tried again, louder. "Sir, I have an idea." 2,000 hours. Heads turned. Some faces showed hope. Most showed exhaustion. Corporal Frank Hayes let out a laugh that had no humor in it. "Kid thinks he's going to save us with corn-husking tricks." A few men chuckled. Not mean, just broken. Merle felt himself shrinking, stepping back toward the shadows where privates belonged. Then a boot hit the floor. The sound cut through the tent like a judge's gavel. Sergeant Grease Sullivan stepped into the light. He didn't look at the captain, didn't look at the doubters. His eyes locked onto Merle like artillery sighting a target. "Explain it, Whitlock. To me." Merle swallowed, pointed to the scrap pile. "That armor plate. From the wrecked half-track, we cut it into a V, like a ship's bow. Weld it to the GMC's front bumper." He walked to the truck, put his hand on the cold hood. "We're not pushing snow. We don't have the weight. We're cutting through it. The V-shape throws it to the sides like—" He hesitated. "Like my daddy's plow back in 38. Hayes stood. That chassis isn't rated for that kind of torque, kid. You'll snap the frame on the first drift. Not if we reinforce it. Merle's voice was getting stronger. Use those I-beams. Weld them along the frame rails. Distribute the load across the whole structure. And we rig the winch system to lift the blade when we hit obstacles, just like a hydraulic lift on a combine. Silence fell again, but it was different now. Thoughtful. Hayes opened his mouth. Grease cut him off. Stoic, Corporal. While you were sitting here freezing and waiting for salvation, this boy was thinking. That's more than the rest of you combined. He walked to the scrap pile, kicked an I-beam. It rang like a bell. Grease looked at Captain Mitchell. We're doing it. Mitchell studied Merle, then the radio, then the map showing 18 men dying 3 miles away. The radio crackled again. Any station, 7 Delta, losing consciousness in multiple patients. Frostbite severe. Request. Static ate the rest. Mitchell's jaw set like concrete curing. You have 12 hours, Private. If that truck can't move snow by 0600, we walk out there and carry them back ourselves. He turned to the tent. Every able body helps. We're not waiting for miracles. We're building one. Grease's hand came down on Merle's shoulder hard enough to buckle his knees. But it wasn't a blow. It was a coronation. You heard the man, Kansas? Time to show these Yankees how a farmer fights a war. 20-15 hours. The garage came alive. What had been a morgue of resignation became a forge of purpose. The cutting torch roared. The welding arc blazed blue-white, stabbing the darkness. Shadows danced across the walls like giants at their work. Merle directed 3 men to drag the armor plate from the scrap heap. 300 pounds of German steel that once protected a half-track. Now it would save American lives. Grease fired up the torch. Sparks cascaded like fireworks. 2 panels, Merle shouted over the noise. 6 feet by 4 feet each. We'll join them at a 60-degree angle. Hayes nodded. No arguments anymore. Just work. Corporal Salvatore Moretti appeared. 34. Driver from the Bronx. Italian accent, thick as marinara. Worry lines from being 4,000 miles from his wife Rosa and their baby daughter. What you need, Kansas? 4 I-beams. 10 feet long, every sandbag in the depot. You got it. Sal vanished into the storm. The air turned thick with ozone, the smell of molten steel, burning flux. Men rotated through the door every few minutes, letting fumes out, letting cold in. The temperature swung from furnace hot near the torch to bone cold near the walls. Merle pulled his welding goggles down. The world went dark, except for the single point of brilliant light at his electrode tip. He started running a bead along the first panel's edge, slow, steady, the way Earl taught him when he was 12 and could barely lift the stinger. If a weld looks like bird shit, his father had said, it'll hold like bird shit. So Merle made each bead clean, strong, true. Grease stood beside him with heavy tongs, holding the second panel in position. Sweat cut trails through the grease on his face. His arms trembled from the weight, but he never moved, never complained. He was a human vice, forged from Texas iron. Behind them, Hayes and 2 others wrestled I-beams against the GMC's frame rails. The rhythm of creation drowned out the wind, the fear, the impossible odds. For those hours, they weren't soldiers waiting to die. They were builders, creators, men making something from nothing because nothing else was left. 2,300 hours. Merle stepped back. The V-shaped plow sat on the concrete, massive, raw, ugly, medieval, a battering ram for the 20th century. Hayes circled it, inspected the welds, kicked it with his boot. It didn't budge. I'll be damned. It might actually work. Might. Grease lit a cigarette. Only one way to know for sure. They'd welded the I-beams to the frame, reinforced the suspension with extra leaf springs, rigged the winch cable through a pulley system for raising and lowering the blade. But theory and reality were separated by 4 feet of snow and 18 dying men. Captain Mitchell appeared at the door. Snow clung to his shoulders like epaulets. "Radio's dead," No contact for the last hour. Merle's stomach dropped. We're not finished, sir. Still need to mount the plow, load ballast, test it. Mitchell checked his watch. 7 hours. He left without another word. Grease looked at Merle. You okay? Merle's hands were shaking, not from cold, from the weight of 18 lives hanging on welds he'd made in the dark with borrowed equipment and farm boy knowledge. I'm okay, he lied. Then let's finish it. They worked through the deepest part of the night. 6 men lifted the plow, guided it onto the mounting brackets Merle had welded to the bumper. The fit was tight. Perfect. Merle crawled underneath with his torch. Sparks rained down on his face and chest. The heat seared even through his mask. But he kept the bead moving, kept it clean. Above him, Sal and Hayes loaded sandbags. 2 tons of ballast. The GMC's suspension groaned like an old man standing. 200 hours. The last weld cooled. Merle crawled out. His coveralls were soaked through with sweat. He pulled off his goggles. The GMC had transformed. The V-plow jutted from its nose like the ram of an ancient warship. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't regulation. It was Frankenstein's monster, built from desperation and American stubbornness. Grease walked up, kicked the plow. The sound was solid, final. You did good, Kansas. Hayes spoke the words that made Merle's heart race. We should test it. Mitchell was already there. Do it. Better to know now. Merle climbed into the cab, turned the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, caught, roared. He shifted into first. The truck lurched forward. Chains bit into concrete, into snow. The plow dropped and bit into frozen earth. Merle aimed for a drift against the Quonset hut, 4 feet high, wind-packed. He floored it. The impact sounded like a train hitting a wall. Snow exploded in massive white wings. The truck shuddered. The frame groaned, but it held. The plow cut through like a hot knife through lard. Merle brought it to a stop on the far side, hands locked on the wheel, hardly believing. Behind him, through the falling snow, men were cheering. For the first time in days, they looked like they believed in tomorrow. But Merle wasn't smiling. That was a light drift. Out there it'll be 3 times deeper, steeper grade, rocks buried under ice. The cheering died. So you're saying it won't hold? Hayes asked. I'm saying we won't know until we're 3 miles out with no way back. Mitchell stepped forward. Then we better prepare. 0530, you roll. He looked at Merle. You'll drive. It wasn't a suggestion. Yes, sir. 0300 hours. Grease pulled Merle aside while others prepped the truck. You scared? Terrified. Grease's left hand rested on Merle's shoulder. The kid noticed it felt wrong. Cold, stiff, the fingers barely moved. Sarge, your hand. It's fine, just cold. But the skin was pale, bloodless, wrong. Before Merle could press, Grease changed subject. I never told you why I volunteered for this, for all of it. He pulled out a photograph, worn, creased from being carried too long. A young man in uniform, smiling. 20 years old, maybe. My son, Michael, tank driver, North Africa, 43, Kasserine Pass. Grease's voice was steady, but his eyes weren't. His convoy got caught in a sandstorm. Supply trucks couldn't reach them. German armor came. Michael and his crew fought until they ran out of ammunition. Then they fought with what they had left, which was nothing. He tucked the photo away. I wasn't there, couldn't help him, couldn't save him. He looked at Merle. But I can help you save those 18. That's what Michael would want, what any father would want. Merle felt his throat close. When I look at you, Kansas, I see him. Same age, same determination. You're going to make it. Going to bring them home. I know it. How can you know? Because you're my son's age and I couldn't save him, but I can save you. And through you, those 18. That's how debts get paid. Grease stood. Get coffee, rest 30 minutes, then we go. 0500 hours, pre-dawn darkness, absolute. The storm had paused, but the cold had deepened. The air felt solid enough to cut with a saw. Merle walked around the GMC, touching it, saying goodbye to the machine that would either save him or kill him. Probably both. Sal appeared with a jerry can. "Top her off?" Merle nodded. "Short run, but we'll work the engine hard." Sal unscrewed the fuel cap and started pouring. Hayes rolled over a drum on a hand truck. "Need more than that. Let me pump some in." He connected a hand pump to the drum, started working the handle. Diesel flowed into the GMC's tank. The engine coughed. Merle's head snapped around. The engine wasn't even running. Black smoke started pouring from the exhaust. "Stop! Stop pumping!" Hayes froze. "What?" Merle ran to the drum, opened it, stuck his hand in. The liquid was thin, watery. He sniffed. His face went white as the snow. "This isn't diesel. It's contaminated. Water. Maybe half and half." The words hit like mortar shells. Hayes stared at the drum, at his hands, at the pump. "I grabbed the wrong drum. The label was covered and I didn't check and I—" "How much went in?" Merle's voice was hollow. 5 gallons. Maybe 6. Grease appeared, read their faces. "What happened?" "Water in the fuel tank. Engine won't run on this. It'll seize before we make half a mile." Captain Mitchell emerged from the command tent. "Problem?" Merle's mind raced. "Sir, we need to drain the entire tank. Find clean diesel. Refill. That's 2 hours minimum." Mitchell checked his watch. "You have 30 minutes. "Sir, that's impossible. Those 18 men don't have 2 hours, Private. They have 30 minutes, maybe less. Make it work." He walked away. Hayes's face crumbled. "I killed them. I killed all of them." Grease grabbed his collar. "Shut up. You made a mistake. Now we fix it." He turned to Merle. "Can we?" Merle thought. 30 minutes. Drain a 20-gallon tank. Find clean fuel. Fill it. Test it. Go. Impossible. Unless. The captain's jeep. Full tank. Clean diesel. "You want to steal from the captain?" Hayes asked. "Borrow?" Merle was already moving. "Sal, siphon hose. Hayes, hand pump. Grease, distract the guard." They scattered like shrapnel. Merle crawled under the GMC, found the drain plug, frozen solid. He pulled out his Zippo, heated the plug until it burned his fingers, didn't care. The plug loosened. He spun it free. Contaminated fuel poured onto frozen ground. Black. Oily. Water immediately freezing into a slick beneath the truck. Sal appeared with the hose, Hayes with the pump. Grease walked up to the guard at the command tent. "Son, Captain needs you at the aid station. Emergency." "I'm not supposed to." "That's an order. Move." The guard ran. Grease gave Merle a thumbs up. They worked fast. Siphon into the jeep's tank. Merle sucked until fuel flowed. Diesel taste in his mouth, spitting, gagging, but the fuel flowed. 2 jerry cans, ran them back, poured them into the GMC. Not full, 12 gallons. Enough for 15 miles. More than enough for 6. Merle jumped in, turned the key. The engine turned. Once. Twice. Didn't catch. "Come on," he whispered. "Come on." Third try. The engine roared. Clean. Strong. Grease appeared at the window, grinning like a wolf. 28 minutes, Kansas. Behind them, Mitchell walked up, looked at his jeep, at the siphon hose. His face was stone. "Then, that jeep better be full when you get back." "Yes, sir." "Now get out of here." Merle shifted into first. The GMC rolled forward. Into darkness. Into storm. Into hell. 0530 hours, December 17th. The modified GMC rolled past the perimeter, chains rattling on ice like chains on a ghost. Behind it, Sal's jeep followed, headlights cutting weak cones through darkness thick as wool. Inside the cab, Merle gripped the wheel. The rabbit fur gloves were warm, but his hands felt numb anyway. Not from cold, from knowing what waited ahead. Grease sat with his left hand tucked inside his coat. The hand Merle had seen was wrong, but the sergeant said nothing, just watched the road with eyes that had seen too much. "First marker's 1.25 miles out," Grease said. "Rock shelf on the left. After that, it's all uphill." The engine rumbled beneath them. The fuel swap had worked, so far. Merle downshifted as the grade increased. The plow bit snow, throwing white wings 20 feet to either side. The truck shuddered, but held. The welds held. Everything held. For now. "When you get back," Grease said suddenly, "what's first?" "Sleep for a week," almost a smile. "After that, call my folks. Tell them I'm alive. Ask my daddy about that shop we talked about." "The tractor shop? You serious?" "Yeah, you could help. You know engines better than anyone." Grease was quiet. Then, "I'd like that, Kansas." The truck hit a rut. Both men slammed into their seats. The plow scraped something solid beneath snow, rock or frozen earth. Merle kept his foot down, kept moving. "There," Grease pointed. The rock outcropping. A granite shelf jutting from the hillside like a broken fang. They passed it. The road pitched upward, steep. Merle downshifted. First gear. Engine screaming. Transmission groaning. "How much farther?" "Mile and a half. Just past the steep section, there'll be—" He stopped. Ahead, blocking the entire road, was a boulder, the size of a small car. It had broken from the outcropping during the storm, rolled down, settled across the road like a toll collector. "You see that?" "I see it." Merle's hands tightened. "Around it?" Grease looked. Left, steep ditch. They'd roll. Right, trees, too close. No. This was it. The test of whether farm knowledge could beat war's brutality. Merle stopped 30 feet back. "What are you doing?" Grease asked. "Something Daddy taught me." He shifted to reverse, backed up 40 feet, stopped, reached for the winch control, pulled. The cables groaned, the plow lifted, rising, angling upward to 45 degrees. "You're going to hit it high," Grease said. Understanding dawned. "Split it." "Like splitting firewood." Merle's hand hovered over the shift. Either the plow cracks the boulder, or the boulder cracks the plow. If the plow broke, 18 men died. He shifted into first. "Hold on." He stomped the gas. The GMC surged, engine howling, chains throwing gravel. 20 miles per hour, 25, 30. The boulder filled the windshield. 40 feet, 30, 20. Impact. The sound was the end of the world. The plow struck the boulder's apex, where frost had already weakened the stone. The boulder cracked. A fracture spread like lightning. The halves separated, tumbled aside with earth-shaking thuds. The GMC rolled through. Merle didn't breathe until they were clear. His hands shook so hard he could barely hold the wheel. "Your daddy taught you good," Grease said quietly. Then the engine made a new sound. Grinding, deep in the transmission. Merle tried second gear. The shift wouldn't move. He forced it. Grinding got worse. Smell of burning clutch. "No, no, no, no." "Second gear's gone," Grease said flatly. Synchro stripped. Panic rose in Merle's chest. "We can't make it on first alone. Too slow. Engine will overheat." "Yes, we can." Grease's voice was steel. "First gear got us here. It'll finish the job." "But—" "Close your eyes. Where are you?" Merle closed them, hands still gripping. "North Field." "What are you driving?" "The John Deere." "What do you do when you lose power?" "Drop to low gear. Slow down. Keep moving." "Then that's what we do." Merle opened his eyes. The panic was smaller now. He put it in first. Started moving. Slower. Much slower. But moving. The engine ticked. The temperature gauge climbed toward red. The radiator had cracked somewhere. They were losing coolant. Behind them, Sal's Jeep kept pace. The headlights in the mirror were a reminder they weren't alone. "Half a mile," Grease said. The road curved, upward still. The plow scraped ice and stone, throwing sparks that died instantly. Then Grease saw it. Through the snow, a dark shape. "There!" Merle leaned forward. 3 ambulances, a half-track, 2 jeeps, buried to their axles, some tipped at angles of defeat. And around them, shapes, huddled figures, some moving, some not. Grease grabbed the flare gun, pushed it out the window, fired. The red streak arced into grey sky. The shapes began to stir. 07:15 hours. Merle brought the GMC to a shuddering stop 20 yards out, shifted to neutral, set the brake. The engine was dying, knocking, rattling. Steam poured from under the hood in white plumes. "Let it idle," Grease said. "If you kill it, it won't restart." Merle's hand froze on the key. He left it running, opened the door, stepped into wind that hit like a fist. 15 below, maybe colder. It burned his lungs. Men emerged from vehicles, stumbling through snow, faces grey, frostbitten, but eyes alive. A medic reached them first, young, hands wrapped in bloody bandages. "You're real," he said, voice cracking. I thought we were dead." Grease climbed down, moved stiffly. "How many can walk?" 4, maybe 5. The rest need stretchers. 3 are critical. Stage 3 hypothermia. If we don't get them warm in an hour, then we don't waste time talking." More men arrived. Sal and Hayes from the Jeep, bringing blankets, coffee, hope. Merle walked to the first ambulance. Back doors open. Inside he saw them, the wounded, bandaged heads, splintered legs. Men wrapped in bloody blankets, shivering so hard their stretchers rattled. 18 faces. 18 lives on a thread. And he'd made it. They'd made it. A woman emerged, 30, exhausted beyond words. Nurse Sarah Coleman. She looked at Merle, at his bloody nose, oil-stained coveralls, face too young for war. "How? How did you get through?" Merle didn't know what to say. "We had to." She nodded, like that was the only answer. Then her face changed. She was looking past him, at Grease. The sergeant sat on the GMC's running board. His left hand was out, no longer hidden, black, swollen, fingers bent wrong. Sarah ran to him. "Sergeant, your hand." "Can wait." "This is advanced gangrene. The infection is spreading. You need a hospital now or—" "Load the wounded first. That's an order." She stared, saw the determination, the refusal. She turned to Merle. "He can't work. That hand is dead. The infection is in his arm." Merle felt something break. This man, who'd believed in him, given him gloves, worked through the night with dying hands, sacrificed everything for 18 strangers. "I'll help him," Merle said. "Load the wounded." The next 30 minutes were chaos. Stretchers, blankets, men who could barely walk being supported by men who could barely stand, fitting them into the GMC bed, into Sal's Jeep, into one ambulance that still had working tires. 18 men. They made it work. Merle helped lift a stretcher. The man on it was unconscious, young, 22 maybe, shrapnel wounds across his chest, his dog tag swung free. Merle caught the name. Harper, T. Merle froze. Harper, Kansas. His hands shook. He looked at the face, through dirt and blood and frostbite. Not Tommy. His brother was infantry, France, different division. But the name. For a moment, Merle felt the weight of what could have been. If this had been Tommy, if his brother had been here, if he'd failed. Sarah saw his face. "You know him?" "No, just same name as my brother." "He'll make it. Because of you." Merle nodded, couldn't speak. It could have been Tommy, could have been anyone. That's why this mattered. Not family, brotherhood. When the last man loaded, Grease tried to stand. His legs buckled. Merle caught him. "I got you." They walked to the GMC together. Merle helped Grease into the passenger seat. "You okay to drive?" Grease whispered. Merle looked at the grey face, the sweat despite cold. "Yeah, I got this." He climbed in, hands on wheel. The engine still ran, barely, misfiring, dying, but running. Merle shifted to first, began the long drive home. 07:45 hours. The return was slower. The path they'd carved was drifting closed. The plough worked twice as hard. Engine screamed. Temperature gauge passed red. Into unmarked territory. Steam poured from the radiator in continuous clouds. Transmission ground with every revolution. Something under the hood was knocking. Loud. Louder. But they moved. In the bed, Sarah worked to keep wounded stable, talking, keeping them conscious, alive. "Stay with me, soldier. Almost there. Stay." Beside Merle, Grease had eyes half closed, breathing shallow, rapid, infection spreading, racing toward his heart. 2 miles, Merle said. Grease nodded, didn't open his eyes. The GMC shuddered violently. Something under the hood made a sound like a gunshot. Rod bearing, piston, something catastrophic. Engine note changed, rougher, weaker. "Come on, girl," Merle whispered. "Little more. Just get us home." They crested a rise. There, in the distance, the motor pool, home. Tears burned Merle's eyes, not from cold, from relief so profound it hurt. "We made it, Sarge. Look." Grease opened his eyes, saw the perimeter, tents, lights. "Told you," he whispered. The GMC rolled through the gate, guards waving, shouting, running. The base mobilized. Merle guided it to the aid station, stopped, neutral, brake, key off. The engine died with a sound like a sigh. Steam kept pouring, but the heart had stopped. Merle sat, hands still on wheel, couldn't let go. Medics swarmed the bed, stretchers, orders, chaos. Mitchell yanked open the door. "Whitlock, how many?" Merle turned, voice flat, exhausted. 18, sir, all of them." Mitchell's jaw trembled, then the mask returned. "Outstanding work." Then someone shouted from the passenger side. "Medic, now!" Merle scrambled out, ran around. Grease hadn't gotten out, slumped in seat, eyes open but unfocused. Medics pulled him from the cab, unwrapped the hand. One made a sound low in his throat. The hand was gone, necrotic, black tissue halfway up the forearm. "Field surgery, now, this is septic." They loaded him on a stretcher, carried him toward the aid station. His eyes found Merle's, lips moved. No sound came. Then he was gone, through the door. Merle stood in snow, unable to move. Sal appeared, hand on shoulder. "You saved them all, Kansas." But Merle wasn't thinking about the 18. He was thinking about the one who'd sacrificed everything. 0900 hours. The aid station was canvas and wood and a stove that barely worked, but warm, and it had a surgeon. Merle sat on a crate outside surgery. A medic had cleaned him, bandaged hands, told him to rest. But he couldn't leave. Through canvas he heard it. Surgeon's voice, instruments scraping, the wet sound of saw cutting bone. He closed his eyes. Canvas parted. Major Hendricks emerged, 40, surgical gloves red. He saw Merle, sat across from him. "Your sergeant is stable. Amputation went clean. Below the elbow. He'll live." Merle nodded. "But understand something." Hendricks pulled off gloves. "Another hour, maybe 2. That infection would have killed him. He knew. Went anyway." "Yeah," Merle said quietly. "That's what sergeants do." Hendricks stood. "He's asking for you. Give him an hour." The surgeon left. Merle sat as the motor pool returned to normal, as 18 wounded were stabilized, warmed, treated, saved. Mitchell found him. "Walk with me." They walked to the garage, to the GMC. Silent now, cooling, plow bent, scarred, cracked welds. But it had held. "What you did," Mitchell said. "Exceptional." "Thank you, sir." "I can't give you a medal." Merle looked at him. "Operation was unauthorized. Modified equipment without approval. Stole my fuel." Almost smiled. "If I file official reports, you face court-martial." Pause. "So here's what goes in. Mechanical failure, field repairs, successful evacuation, end of story." "Sir." "No medal, Whitlock, but something better. You'll know you saved 18 lives, and somewhere, years from now, those men will tell their children about the farm boy who refused to let them die." Mitchell extended his hand. Merle shook it. "Get rest. You've earned it." 1000 hours. Grease was awake, propped on a cot, left arm ending in white bandages, face pale, eyes clear. "Kansas." "Sarge." Grease looked at the stump. "Well, most of me made it. All the important parts." Almost a laugh, then serious. "How many?" "All 18. They'll make it." Grease closed his eyes. Peace settled. Good. Silence. Then Grease opened his eyes. You know what's funny? Still got my right hand. The one that matters. Can still turn a wrench. Still hold a rod. He looked at Merle. That shop you mentioned, Kansas. When this is over, I'm coming to help. Merle's throat tightened. Partners? Grease extended his right hand. Partners. They shook. In that moment, something was born. Not just a promise, a future. The aid station quieted. Crisis passed. 18 wounded stable, warm, alive. Outside, the storm broke. Pale sunlight filtered through clouds, turning snow from grey to white. Temperature rising, maybe 0 Fahrenheit, but after 15 below, it felt like spring. Merle sat with Grease another hour. Didn't talk much, didn't need to, just sat. Two men who'd gone to war and come back different. When morphine pulled Grease into sleep, Merle walked out into pale morning. The motor pool was busy, men clearing snow, digging out vehicles, military life resuming after crisis. Sal found him. Captain wants you. They walked to command tent. Inside, Mitchell stood with Lieutenant Garrison, the engineer who'd called their plan suicide. Both looked up. At ease, Private, Mitchell said. Lieutenant has something to say. Garrison stepped forward, face serious. Private Whitlock, I owe an apology. I called your design suicidal, said it would fail. I was wrong. Pause. I've inspected the truck, the welds. What you built with scrap and desperation is better than what we could design in a lab with unlimited resources. He shook his head. You didn't build from theory, you built from necessity. Necessity is the finest engineer. Garrison extended his hand. Merle shook it. Sir, I just did what my daddy taught me. Then your father is a hell of a teacher. Garrison turned to Mitchell. Sir, I'd like to document this. Add it to the field manual. Mitchell nodded. Do it, but keep Whitlock's name out of official reports, for his protection. Understood. Garrison left. Mitchell looked at Merle. The men you saved? Want to meet them? Merle hesitated. Feels like intruding, sir. They've been asking. The kid who built the plow. Come on. They walked to recovery tent. Inside, 18 wounded on cots, some conscious, some sleeping, all alive. A corporal with bandaged head saw Merle, tried to sit up. That him? The driver? Mitchell nodded. Private Merle Whitlock. The corporal looked at Merle, at oil-stained coveralls, young face. How old are you? 19, sir. The corporal laughed, turned to cough, but smiling. 19? Christ, I got boots older than you. Extended hand. Thank you, that's all, just thank you. Merle shook, didn't know what to say. One by one, others did the same, reaching out, shaking hands, saying thanks. And Merle realized something. He'd never know their stories, where they came from, where they'd go, what they'd do with the lives he helped save. But that was okay. They'd live, go home, have futures. That was enough. Leaving, Merle noticed one man near the back, the one with the name tag, Harper, T. The man was awake, looking at Merle. You the driver? Yes, sir. Harper's your name too, right? Nurse said. Merle nodded. Whitlock. But my brother's name is Harper, Thomas Harper. The wounded man smiled. Small world. I'm Theodore Harper, Kansas, near Topeka. I'm from Belleville. No kidding, Theodore coughed. When I get out, I'm buying you a drink. I'd like that. Merle walked out, into cold, into light, and felt, for the first time in months, like maybe things would be okay. 70 years later. Fort Benning, Georgia, September 2014. The National Infantry Museum sat on 70 acres. Inside, rows of restored military vehicles told American warfare's story, from revolution to present. But in the back corner of the World War II exhibit, one vehicle drew more attention. A 1944 GMC CKW, olive drab gleaming under lights. Welded to its front bumper, a V-shaped plough made from salvaged armour. The placard read, Modified GMC snowplow, December 1944, Ardennes, constructed by private. Merle Whitlock and Sergeant Thaddeus Sullivan. Used to rescue 18 wounded soldiers during the Battle of the Bulge. Field improvisation at its finest. A crowd gathered for Saturday's demonstration. Every week at 1100, they started the engine. Let visitors hear these machines alive. Among the crowd stood an old man, 93, thin, stooped, but eyes sharp behind wire glasses. He stared at the truck like seeing a ghost. A young docent approached, enthusiastic, 25. Beautiful, isn't it? Saved 18 lives in one night. The old man didn't respond. The private who built it was 19, farm boy from Kansas. The sergeant who helped lost his hand to gangrene from working in the cold. The old man's hand came up, touched the rope. "Sir, you can't." "I was there." The docent stopped. "What?" December 17th, 44, 3rd ambulance, shrapnel to the chest. Hypothermia, stage 2. He looked at the docent. "I heard the engine coming. Thought I was hallucinating." The crowd went silent. "When that truck came over the ridge," voice cracked. "When I saw that plow cutting through snow, I knew I'd live." The docent's eyes widened. "Would you like to sit in it?" "Can I?" "For you? Absolutely." Rope lifted. Old man walked forward, each step deliberate. He touched the plow, ran fingers over welds, rough, unpolished. 19-year-old's work through the night. He climbed into the cab, sat where Merle had sat. Docent climbed in beside. "We're about to start it." "I'd like that." Key turned, engine coughed, sputtered, then roared. Sound was a time machine, deep, guttural, voice of determination and refusal to quit. Old man gripped wheel. For a moment wrinkles disappeared. He was 22, freezing, waiting to die, until a farm boy refused to let him. Tears ran down his face. After a moment, engine shut off. Old man climbed down. "Thank you." "Can I ask," docent said, "did you ever meet them? Whitlock or Sullivan?" Old man shook his head. "Never. Tried after the war. Couldn't find them." Pause. "But I did the math. 18 men that night. Most went home, married, had kids, grandkids." Voice quiet. "Everyone alive today because of that night. Direct descendants. Over 700 people. 700. 700 doctors, teachers, engineers. 700 lives exist because a farm boy modified a truck." He looked at the GMC one last time, and they never got medals, never got recognition, just went back to their lives. "The invisible heroes," docent said softly, "the best kind." Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan, September 2014, same day. Half a world away, different soldiers, different problems. Combat engineers from 82nd Airborne, clearing road through mountain pass. Insurgents above, mines below. Battalion pinned 3 miles ahead. Standard procedure said wait. Wait for specialized equipment, air support. Perfect solution. But infantry didn't have time. Sergeant First Class Marcus Johnson stood beside Humvee, studying problem, looked at his men. "We've got steel plates. Humvee. Welder. Who knows how to run a torch?" Young specialist raised hand. "I do, Sergeant. Learned on my dad's farm." Johnson almost smiled. "Then let's build something." They worked through night, welding salvaged armor to Humvee, creating improvised mine plow. Ugly, jury-rigged, functional. By dawn, road was clear. Infantry resupplied, lives saved. Johnson's report. Effected field repairs and completed mission. No medals, just job done. Same spirit, different war. Thread unbroken. Belleville, Kansas, April 1947. Sign above garage read, "Whitlock and Sullivan, tractor repair." Merle stood on ladder, hanging it. Below, Grease steadied ladder with right hand. Left arm ended at elbow. Prosthetic hook hung at side. "Little left," Grease called. Merle adjusted. "How's that?" "Perfect." Merle climbed down. They stood together, looking at sign, at their names, partners. "Your daddy would be proud," Grease said. Earl Whitlock walked out, older, grey beard, but strong, looked at Sign, at his son, at the man beside him. "I am proud," Earl said, looked at Grease. "Both of you, what you did there, what you're doing here, building something, that's what matters." Truck pulled up, old Ford. Farmer climbed out.
"You boys open?"
Merle grinned. "Yes, sir. What needs fixing?" "John Deere won't turn over." Merle looked at Grease. Grease looked at Merle. "Sir," Merle said, "if it's broken, we can fix it." Farmer nodded. "Heard about you two. They say you built something special in Europe." Grease pulled out unlit cigar, bit end. "We just fixed what was broken." They walked into garage, smell of oil and metal and possibility. Outside, signs swung gently in Kansas wind. 2 names, 2 men. 1 mission. Fix what's broken. Save what can be saved. Never quit. Inside, Merle and Grease worked side by side. One-handed sergeant could still run wrench as well as any man with 2, better than most. They fell into rhythm. Merle under tractor, Grease handing tools. "Seized piston," Merle called. "Penetrating oil, left shelf." Grease grabbed can, passed it down. Comfortable silence, the kind that only comes from men who've been through fire. After an hour, tractor sputtered to life. Farmer grinned, paid, drove off happy. Grease lit his cigar. Finally, the one from Belgium. "Good first day." "Yeah." They stood in doorway, watching sun set over wheat fields. "You ever think about it?" Merle asked. "That night?" "Every day." "Me too." "You regret any of it?" Merle thought. About fear, exhaustion, impossible odds. About 18 men who went home. "No, not a second." "Good." Grease looked at his hook, at absence where hand used to be. "I use my hand to lift my brothers. That's what hands are for." Car pulled up. Woman got out. Pretty. Schoolteacher. Ruth Henderson. She waved at Merle. Merle waved back. "That the girl you been writing?" Grease asked. "Yeah." "Gonna marry her?" "Thinking about it." "Good. Life's too short to wait." Grease walked back inside, left Merle in doorway, looking at Ruth, at fields, at life spreading out like a road. A life he almost didn't get. A life 18 others almost didn't get. But they did. Because one night, in frozen Belgian hell, a farm boy decided 18 strangers mattered more than regulations, more than fear, more than impossible odds. And a sergeant decided one farm boy mattered enough to sacrifice a hand. That's what brotherhood meant. Not blood, not ranks, not names, just refusal to let your brothers die when you had power to save them. Merle walked to Ruth's car. Future was waiting. It was good. Merle Whitlock returned to Kansas in '46, opened Whitlock & Sullivan Tractor Repair, married Ruth Henderson, had 3 children, 7 grandchildren, 14 great-grandchildren. Taught 2 generations of farmers how to fix equipment. Never talked about the war, but in his workshop, behind his desk, hung a photograph, black and white, faded. 2 men beside GMC with plow welded to front, one young, one old, both smiling, both with grease on hands. He died in 2008 at 83. Buried in Belleville, half the county came. Thaddeus Sullivan learned to weld one-handed, became Merle's partner, taught 3 generations, lived simply, worked hard, never remarried, never sought recognition. Right hand could run perfect bead until the day he died. He passed in 1986 at 94, buried next to Merle's reserved plot. Partners, even in death. The shop continued. Merle's son ran it, then grandson. Still there today, still fixing what's broken, still refusing to quit. The 18 scattered. Most never knew their rescuers' names, but they lived. Theodore Harper became doctor. Topeka delivered 400 babies, including twins who'd become engineers. Corporal James Riley opened hardware store. Boston helped returning vets find jobs, find purpose. Private Anthony DeLuca became teacher. Brooklyn taught history, told students about the farm boy who saved his life, made sure they understood heroes don't always wear medals. One by one, they built lives, families, futures. The math was simple: 18 men, 54 children, 162 grandchildren, 486 great-grandchildren. Over 700 alive today because of one December night in '44. 700 doctors, teachers, engineers, artists, parents. 700 lives. All because two men with dirty hands refused to let winter win. Remember the question? What's the quietest sound in war? Not the death of engine when men are dying, the sound after. When engine roars back to life. When you realize hope isn't dead. Someone refused to quit. Brotherhood, stronger than snow, stronger than cold, stronger than odds. Sound of steel and determination, starting when it shouldn't, when it can't, when every regulation says impossible. But it does anyway, because men who built it refused to accept 18 lives were lost. That sound, that impossible, beautiful sound. That's the quietest sound in war, because it's the sound of hope. And hope doesn't shout, it just keeps running, in first gear, until job is done. They don't give medals for welding, they don't give silver stars for fixing trucks. History writes about generals and tanks and paratroopers, but mechanics, builders, ones who keep machinery running when manuals fail. They're the grease in gears, invisible, uncelebrated, essential. And somewhere tonight, in workshop in Kansas or Texas or Iowa, there's a kid learning to weld, learning that if equipment breaks, people don't eat, learning that sometimes only thing standing between life and death is clean bead and stubborn refusal to quit, learning what it means to be invisible hero, one who saves world one weld at a time, and that's enough. That's always been enough. That's everything.